beautiful bill. I think this is a big, ugly bill. Let's call it what it is. It is the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in U.S. history. This reconciliation package proposes devastating cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. My Republican colleagues will tell you that they are just going after waste, fraud, and abuse, but let's be clear. The only way to slash this much safety net spending is by making it harder for people to survive.
As an employee and an agent of the president, I think has certainly more Democratic legitimacy than Anthony Fauci did, and he certainly has more Democratic legitimacy than the nameless, faceless bureaucrats who have been running our lives for several years, the waste of which he is rooting out currently. President Trump here with DOGE is doing exactly what he was elected to do. DOGE is a part of the Trump mandate. It's extremely popular. In fact, Elon Musk and the DOGE movement right now are polling at a higher...
For years, Democrats have warned that deep federal spending cuts could put vulnerable Americans at serious risk. In a recent high-stakes debate, Ilhan Omar doubled down on that concern, slamming a Republican-backed reconciliation bill as harmful to low-income families and tilted toward wealthy interests. But the conversation took a dramatic turn when freshman Republican Brandon Gill fired back with a detailed, numbers-driven defense. Moving away from political talking points, he broke down specific spending items and fiscal priorities, shifting the room from emotional rhetoric to hard data. Observers noted the atmosphere change instantly as the debate moved from slogans to serious scrutiny.
Care and nutrition assistant. That means more untreated illnesses, more hungry children, more preventable deaths. This isn't just line items in the budget. There are people's lives, the sacrifice of human dignity and of life itself. And for what? So that your billionaire friends can get nearly $300,000 in tax cuts? This is not a serious budget. This is a green light for authoritarianism, for inequality to run rampant. It is a police state budget wrapped in billionaire tax cuts.
Mr. Gill from Texas is recognized for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, thank you for all of your hard work. I'm thrilled about this piece of legislation as it's getting started. This reconciliation bill, I believe, will balance. It will extend the Trump tax cuts for the working class so that they don't experience the biggest tax increase in American history, and it'll grow the economy. But of course, it will also help us to implement the Trump agenda, which is to clean up the chaos and destruction that Joe Biden unleashed on our country over the past 4 years. It will help us fund the mass deportation of illegal aliens who have been murdering and raping and pillaging American citizens. It will help us unleash our fossil fuel energy sector, and it will allow us to rebuild our military. And of course, it will help us implement DOGE, which this amendment targets, among other things. As DOGE has been rolled out, I think it's been a bit curious because I found that so many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have not been upset about the waste, fraud, and abuse that this process has uncovered. Rather, they've been angry that the fraud has been exposed at all. We found that for decades, the administrative state has been weaponized against the American people. We can give example after example of flagrant abuses of American taxpayer dollars. We've heard of some of them earlier, but I'll name a few more. $1 million spent to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in West and Central Africa through the State Department. Almost $50,000 on a transgender opera in Colombia, also through the State Department. Over $7,000 for a BIPOC speaker series in Canada through the State Department. I think it's worth noting that normal, sane Americans don't know what BIPOC means, and neither do I. $80,000 for an LGBTQ community center in Slovakia, and over $16,000 for a united and equal queer feminist discourse in Albanian society, whatever that is. And of course, we also know that our taxpayer dollars have been going to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every year to fund left-wing media outlets like NPR and PBS, paying for welfare for illegal aliens, and paying for giving out payments to international organizations that are censoring and pushing for the censorship of American citizens. Our own federal government is using taxpayer dollars to promote ideologies that tens of millions of Americans find utterly repulsive. I think if the other side of the aisle has such a deep ideological opposition to this DOGE process, I challenge them to be straightforward with the American people and explain why taxpayer dollars should be funding queer feminist discourse in Albanian society or drag shows in Ecuador. I don't think that they will, but I would love to see it if they did. Elon Musk, acting as an employee and an agent of the president, I think has certainly more democratic legitimacy than Anthony Fauci did, and he certainly has more democratic legitimacy than the nameless, faceless bureaucrats who have been running our lives for several years, the waste of which he is rooting out currently. President Trump here with DOGE is doing exactly what he was elected to do. DOGE is a part of the Trump mandate. It's extremely popular. In fact, Elon Musk and the DOGE movement right now are polling.
During the hearing, Omar argued the bill was deeply flawed, warning that cuts to programs like Medicaid and SNAP could carry real human consequences. She framed the proposal as a reflection of misplaced priorities at a time when millions of Americans are already struggling financially. Her supporters echoed the concern, cautioning that reducing safety nets could hit working families the hardest. When Gil took the floor, however, he pivoted sharply. Instead of political framing, he outlined what he said the bill actually delivers: extending key tax provisions, preventing looming tax hikes, boosting border security, expanding domestic energy production, strengthening military readiness, and cracking down on what he described as waste, fraud, and abuse across federal agencies. Gil pointed to federal audits and budget reports, highlighting spending he questioned, including overseas grants, funding for public broadcasters like NPR and PBS, and contributions to international organizations. He challenged critics directly. Why continue these expenditures while the national debt climbs to historic levels?